Hey guys, today I am back with a new analytical video for you looking at mill placement and its effect on berry gathering efficiency in Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. The main question being asked today is it better to place the mill adjacent to a patch of berries or at a distance of 1 tile away? Now, Spirit of the Law has previously discussed this subject before. You can check that out for yourself in the link in the description, where he came to the conclusion that a mill placed 1 tile away is better. However, upon viewing the video of myself recently, I feel a few key points were missed, and I've heard many players suggest that the adjacent mill placement is better. So, as a newer player, the only decision I've decided was to find out for myself and create my own experiments to see what is better. The first experiment will look at 2 different shapes for the berry bushes, a 3+3 layout and a 4+2 layout, which is most commonly seen in the Arabia spawns. And I'll let the AI take over the vill control once the mill is built. So I've hands off the PC, I'm not touching the vills. This is to replicate the early game where your attention is primarily on vill production, boar luring, sheep, scouting, and not too much on those berry gatherers. We remind ourselves that the berry bushes contain 125 food, and it gets gathered by a forager, so that's a villager gathering the berries at a rate of 0.31 food per second, and theoretically, the group of 4 villagers should take 9 minutes and 28 seconds to gather all the food from the berry bushes. However, this does not include the walking time, the idle time, which is unrealistic, but it gives us a benchmark to compare this to. Now, we notice what's going on in the current experiment as we do see quite a lot of villagers bumping around. We see villagers walking around the mill when they look for a new berry bush. And also we see that when a berry bush is expired, all the villagers deposit resources as each of these berry bushes go away. So let's say you've got 4 villagers on a berry bush, they all walk back to the granary at the same time, and that's not really an efficient use of villager time and villager seconds. We use the in-game clock to measure the total time taken for the villagers to harvest the berries, and the final time for the first experiment was that's the time taken for the 4 villagers to gather all the berries on the close mill. The mill touching the berries was 10 minutes and 50 seconds in game time, and the time for the 4 villagers gathering the berries when the mill was placed 1 tile away from the berry bushes was 11 minutes and 15 seconds. So 25 in-game second difference between the two. It's not a huge amount, but it is noticeable. And we notice that both the sets of villagers, they finished their own berry bush roughly at the same time. So when we move on to the next experiment, we can assume that geometry is not as an important factor as the position of the mill. And so for the next set of experiments, we drop the additional geometry investigation. The second experiment was carried out so that micro is added to both setups to improve efficiency and minimize idling. The clock was reset and the total times were observed. This was done to prevent too many vills gathering from the same bush like we saw in the last example, prevents bumping around, and that multiple vills returning to the mill after a berry bush was depleted, and that the villagers were ordered to take the shortest path from one bush to the next. So you may have seen my cursor there, shift clicking villagers from one bush to another, and at the moment we have on the southern side 2 villagers on the far corner berry bushes going through those first, and then each of them will take a berry bush each. On the top side, each villager is taking a berry bush at the moment, and then they'll converge on the final 2. Leaving the efficiency to the side for a moment, we notice that the mill placed 1 tile away from the rest of the berries is much easier to quick wall than the mill adjacent to the berry bushes. So this is where some players actually would consider that if you're not considering efficiency but considering how to not lose a game or how to play very safe, players may want to opt for the mill placement on the top right. However, just a couple of palisade walls, for example, you only need 3 or 4 on the bottom left mill per side, and you're fully walled in anyway, so it's not actually that expensive to wall in both setups. And also the difference between the berry structures and how to quick wall them falls apart quite quickly once we've gone through the berries, and the berry bushes start to get very low down on natural resources. So as the game goes on, the actual defensive position of the mill becomes less impactful. So the total time for the villagers to gather the berries in this experiment was 10 minutes and 41 seconds for the adjacent mill. That's a 9-second improvement, with the time for the berries to be gathered for the mill placed 1 tile away was 10 minutes and 50 seconds, which is quite a large 25 second improvement over the previous attempt by the AI only, and that's a really stark difference. So I was really happy when I saw this result come out. So to conclude, in contrast to Spirit of the Law, I have to recommend here, based on the evidence that I've seen today, that the mill to be placed right on top of the berry bushes, adjacent to the berry bushes. It is also recommended to task your villagers to individual berry bushes in an attempt to reduce the bump in and extra trips to the mill once the berry bushes have expired, and just to really just get a grasp on that efficiency. Alright guys, here's the table of the final times. That's all I have for you today in this video. If you like this type of content, then let me know in the comments below. Give this video a like, and I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. I'm currently planning to release analytical content for both Age of Empires 2, Age of Empires 3, and Age of Empires 4.